What if the person everyone overlooked was the very person God had chosen? David was the youngest son of Jesse. While his older brothers were strong and impressive, David was out in the fields, taking care of sheep. Nobody expected a shepherd boy to become a king. But God saw something nobody else could see. One day, God sent the prophet Samuel to Jesse's house. God had rejected Saul as king, and Samuel had been told that one of Jesse's sons would become the next king of Israel. Jesse brought his sons before Samuel. But one by one, God showed Samuel that none of them was the chosen one. Finally, Samuel asked, "Are these all your sons?" Jesse answered, "There is still the youngest, David." David was brought in from the fields. And when Samuel saw him, God said, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." Samuel poured oil over David's head. The shepherd boy had been chosen to become king. But there was something surprising about God's timing. David was anointed king, and then he went right back to the sheep. The promise had been given, but the throne was still far away. Years later, Israel faced the Philistines, and standing before the Israelite army was a terrifying warrior named Goliath. He was huge, heavily armed, and confident that nobody could defeat him. Every day, Goliath challenged Israel to send someone to fight him, but the entire army was afraid. Then David arrived at the battlefield, and when he heard Goliath mocking Israel and challenging the living God, David wasn't afraid. David volunteered to fight. Saul tried to put his armor on David, but David couldn't move comfortably in it. So he took it off. Instead, he took his sling and 5 smooth stones. Goliath laughed when he saw the young shepherd approaching, but David answered, "The battle is the Lord's." David placed a stone into his sling. He swung it and released it. The stone struck Goliath. The giant fell. The man everyone feared had been defeated by the shepherd nobody expected. David's victory made him famous throughout Israel. People began celebrating him. But Saul became jealous. The king began to see David as a threat, and eventually Saul tried to kill him. David had been chosen to become king, yet instead of sitting on a throne, he was running for his life. David spent years hiding in the wilderness and caves. He had opportunities to kill Saul, but David refused. On one occasion, Saul entered the very cave where David was hiding. David's men told him, "God has delivered your enemy into your hands." But David would not kill Saul. He only cut a piece from Saul's robe. David understood something important. Being chosen by God doesn't mean you can force God's timing. David had been anointed, but he was willing to wait. Eventually, Saul died in battle. David first became king over Judah. Later, he became king over all Israel. The shepherd from Bethlehem was finally sitting on the throne. David captured Jerusalem and made it the capital of Israel. He brought the Ark of the Covenant into the city, and Israel became stronger under his leadership. The shepherd had become king. But David was not a perfect man. The Bible also tells us about his greatest failures. David committed a terrible sin involving Bathsheba, and then tried to hide what he had done. But God sent the prophet Nathan to confront him. Nathan exposed David's sin, and David realized that he could no longer hide from the truth. He confessed. He humbled himself before God. David was a great king, but he was not a perfect man. And that may be one of the most powerful parts of David's story. God does not always choose the person everyone expects. David was overlooked by his own family. He was underestimated because he was young. He was chased by the very king he would eventually replace. He waited years for God's promise. And even after becoming king, he made serious mistakes. Yet he kept turning back to God. So if you feel overlooked today, remember David. The field may be preparing you for the palace. The waiting may be preparing you for the promise. And the battles you're facing may be preparing you for what comes next. God sees what people overlook. And sometimes the person nobody notices today is the person God is preparing for tomorrow. If David's story encouraged you, share this video with someone who needs that reminder. And if you want more cinematic Bible stories that bring scripture to life, subscribe to Bible Tales and Truth. Because the Bible is filled with ordinary people who were used by an extraordinary God. And David's story was only the beginning.